Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 4 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the Maddox assault rifle and addressing the question, is it overpowered? Because as people get better at this game, as the good guns become more known, discussions of skill-based matchmaking start coming in, the pro scene has determined which weapons they think are the best, and the Maddox has clearly risen to the very top, the very cream of the crop of weapons. So when I get into a sweaty lobby and I'm playing against sweaty players, I usually see a whole team of Maddoxes. So we're going to take a look at it today from the statistical standpoint and see if it is as overpowered as the community believes. Before we jump into the stats, I do want to let you know that I'm giving away a pair of Astro headsets. The giveaway link is down there below in the description. It's literally any pair of Astro headsets that you want. I do this giveaway every single month. It's part of my partnership with Astro. They have giveaways, free ones, for me to give to you, and all you have to do is follow me on Twitter and Mixer. Very straightforward kind of thing. It's more of a reward for old followers of this channel to try to get them to try new social medias and new ways to connect. You don't even have to sub here, you don't have to like, you don't have to leave a comment, none of that stuff. Just hop on over to my Twitter where I'm posting dog pictures, or Mixer where I'm streaming Black Ops. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the damage of the Maddox. It's a little bit unique with its damage in that it will deal 32 damage or 27 damage. It doesn't decline from 32 to 27, then it'll do like 32, 31, 30, none of that kind of stuff. You're either dealing 32 at point blank, or you'll deal 27 on the other side of the furthest map in the game, which means that it is a 5 to 6 shot kill assault rifle, and that is normal for the rifles. I think they're almost all like that, except for the Rampart, which is a little bit heavier of a weapon. Unfortunately, like most of the weapons in the game, headshots don't really help you a whole lot. They only deal 10% extra damage, a little 1.1x multiplier. However, this might help you at long range. It might give you a little bit of boost, but in general, I would say headshots are just not worth going for. One of the absolute best things the Maddox has going for it, and one of the reasons that pro players prefer it, is its rate of fire. It fires at 720 rounds per minute, with the Echo Fire mod taking that up to 754 rounds per minute. I put a little asterisk by the Echo Fire mod because it's a little bit different. It fires a very quickly 2-round burst with a short delay, followed by another 2-round burst. However, the delay is so short, it's going to feel more like a stair-steppy automatic weapon. It's a really unusual mod, so you get a lot of initial damage. However, the overall combined RPM of a magazine is 754, or a very small increase. However, this is very fast for assault rifles in Black Ops 4. Generally speaking, Black Ops 4 assault rifles shoot slow compared to other games, so this is the fastest among them that I'm aware of. What that means is that the Maddox has the fastest base time to kill among all assault rifles. Just a plain Jane Maddox with no high caliber and no damage boosting attachments has a faster base time to kill than any other assault rifle in the game, and a better time to kill than most of the submachine guns. It's almost tied with the SOG, and a little bit slower than that of the Spitfire. When you put the Echo Fire mod on, it's extremely fast. It becomes second. When you're looking at just the fastest time to kill possible for assault rifles, that's going to be the Rampart with high caliber 2. But even the Rampart with high caliber 2 is still pretty close to just the base Maddox, which is ludicrous. Of the things that doesn't have working for it is range. The maximum damage range is very poor. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you here. It's about 15 meters, or slightly better than the maximum damage range of most SMGs. It's not very impressive, so expect way more 6 shots to kills than you get 5 shots to kills. Another good thing is that the recoil is surprisingly low and mostly vertical. For a weapon like this with a big magazine and a high rate of fire and a good time to kill, normally the balancing lever that devs would hit is the recoil. They would say this gun's going to kick a whole lot, or it's going to kick unpredictably, or it's going to drag sideways, but that's not the case with the Maddox. Recoil is lower than I thought it would be, and what recoil was there was mostly vertical, which means with vertical recoil and predictive recoil, it's also very predictable. It's very easy to master the recoil, it's very easy to get used to the Maddox and get your shots on point. It's not as great long range as, say, the ICR, but it still does very good work. On top of that, and you're going to start seeing the reason why the Maddox is considered OP is because it's good in so many situations, is that it's also an excellent hipfire weapon. Generally speaking, weapons that have high rates of fire are fantastic for hipfire, and the Maddox is no exception. However, with this weapon you can equip a laser sight, and laser sight 2 being incredibly strong. Laser sight 2 on this weapon tightens up the hipfire even more and makes it to where there's no penalty for running, jumping, moving, anything. It's just a pretty much constant tight hipfire box, and it lets you absolutely hose people. When I played with Laser Sight 2, I wasn't even aiming down sights that much because I didn't need to. It was just as effective to just hipfire at most ranges, which allowed me a lot more mobility and a lot of freedom to kind of do things and cheese people. This is a very effective way to use the weapon, and it's not bad with Laser Sight 1 either. It can definitely kill people. Aim down sights time is another place where the Maddox is quite strong. The base aim down sights time isn't that impressive at only 300 milliseconds. That's the same as pretty much all the other assault rifles. When you put QUICKDRAW 1 on there, it's 270 milliseconds. Not much better, slight improvement. However, QUICKDRAW 2 drops it to 185 milliseconds, and it changes your peripheral vision and your field of view so you can see a little bit more stuff when you ADS, and that is incredibly valuable. When it comes to assault rifles in Black Ops 4, QUICKDRAW 2 is one of the best overall attachments that you can have, and I'm going to have a full-on discussion on why this is so good in just a minute when we talk about the competitive scene after we finish out a few other stats. The reload time, the base reload time is pretty normal for rifles at 1.75 seconds. However, you can put fast mags on this and make it 0.85 seconds, which is very fast. However, you can put fast mags 2 on there so that every other magazine reloads. In the tooltip it'll say auto loads or loads instantly. Your regular reload time is going to be about the same, but your every other mag reload time is 0.25 seconds. Which is insanely fast, and I put a little asterisk by it. That's the time if you just go through it and do an instant reload cancel. If you let the full animation play, it's going to be about 0.5 seconds. It's going to be about a half a second, but most of the time this will happen without you thinking about it. It's incredibly fast. It happens automatically. It's super duper effective, and is another one of the reasons that pros like this gun is because they can throw 40 rounds downstream and then reload super fast and have another 40 rounds good to go. One of the few drawbacks to this weapon is that you have no FMJ and no high caliber, so it's painful for public matches, but that doesn't matter for competitive. Public matches, people run armor. I love having FMJ. I hate dealing with armored users. I like being able to wallbang. The Maddox doesn't really wallbang anything but the thinnest of walls. Having high caliber to go for headshots, both for challenges and just to increase my DPS in general, very nice. Those are things that I prefer because they increase my time to kill. However, you just don't have those on the Maddox because it shoots so fast. I don't think the developers would be sane to put that on there. These don't really matter for competitive because as far as I'm aware, very few competitive players are running armor. It's a very stim-heavy environment, and they're also not allowed to equip high caliber because high caliber was kind of busted on launch, almost doubling your damage. So these kind of drawbacks don't really matter for competitive at all. Speaking of competitive, let's talk about why pro players like this weapon so much. Pros like the Maddox because Gung Ho is banned. And Gung Ho is banned because, I don't know if it's a glitch or a feature, but in the old in-depth video, you can aim down sights and then pull the fire button instantly, and while you're full-on sprinting, come straight out of sprinting, shoot with no delay. There's no sprint out delay, no nothing. You can just shoot immediately and go straight to gunfights. The competitive scene decided that this was overpowered, so they banned Gung Ho. So all the people that you see in public matches that run around with Gung Ho and react super fast because of this do not exist in the competitive scene. However, being able to react quickly shaves time off of your time to kill. It improves the reaction times, and that's the number one thing that pros are looking for, is to get that slight edge over the other guy. QUICKDRAW 2 is the next best thing, because once you're fully aimed down sights, you can shoot. So if you put QUICKDRAW 2 on this, you can shoot faster out of sprinting, or just out of head glitching, or just turn an ADS faster than any other gun in the game, and that is incredibly valuable. Just shaving those milliseconds off of time to kill gets your shots on first, makes the other people flinch, and makes the Maddox a top tier weapon just because of QUICKDRAW 2. Even QUICKDRAW 1 is pretty good, to be honest with you. It also has a fast time to kill. Pros in general tend to prefer weapons that have faster time to kills. They tend to prefer weapons that have big magazines, and the weapon has very workable hipfire, so even when somebody rushes up on you, you can reliably beat most submachine guns in the game, especially if you're running a laser sight or some other kind of attachment like that. As you can see, the Maddox has very few weaknesses, and the strengths that it has are very much so designed around the pro scene. The only true weaknesses that the weapon has is that the 5-shot range is very poor. It's the poorest amongst all of the assault rifles, the shortest, that is. It also has no FMJ and no high caliber, which sucks for public matches, but doesn't matter in competitive. And even in competitive, they're not doing long-range shots that often, so 5 to 6 shots to kill isn't that big of a difference. So the question is Is the Maddox overpowered? Does Treyarch need to hit this with the nerf hammer and make it a little bit weaker? And my opinion on this one is split. I do think that the Maddox is OP only for competitive play and not in public matches at all. In competitive matches, because of the restrictions on perks and attachments and because of the overall playstyle and needs, the Maddox is clearly the best weapon to be using, though I will say I think pros would really enjoy the ICR with Grip 2 for anchoring. If you're going to anchor and do long range, the ICR with Grip 2 is better, but the Maddox is much better all-purpose weapon. The ICR is more of a specific case. However, I don't think the Maddox is overpowered in public matches at all, because public matches don't play out like pro matches. Everybody can use Gung Ho, so QUICKDRAW 2 isn't as powerful. People can run crazy operator mods and burst fire attachments and goofy things like that that pros don't have to deal with. Most notably, they can run rapid fire and high caliber. So, some of the reasons I think it's not OP is that the ICR is way better at long-range engagements, and it has much higher accuracy, especially if you use foregrip 2, which we talked about in the video. It's literally a laser and you don't flinch. If you want to fight long-range in multiplayer, the ICR will dominate the Maddox every single day. Speaking of dominate, the Rampart dominates the time to kill charts, especially when you put on high caliber 2. The Rampart kills absurdly fast. It doesn't matter how fast the Maddox is shooting or how much that guy is spraying. You will kill them way faster if you get your hits on with the Rampart high caliber 2. And the VAPR, which is one of my favorite weapons, even though it may not be statistically the strongest, has a better time to kill up to about 30 meters, or we'll say between 15 and 30 meters. Like, the Maddox has a really good up-close time to kill, but even at medium range, it can't really compete with the VAPR, and the VAPR is a very strong weapon in general that's not getting a lot of love. So in regular public matches, you have a lot of other non-Maddox alternatives. When it comes to how you should use this weapon, how it's best, I personally do not recommend the HIPFIRE mod. I don't like it at all. It kicks way too much for the very little gain in rate of fire rounds per minute. I'm overall better just being more accurate with a slower rate of fire, so it's definitely not worth the points. I think the best setup is pretty similar to a pro setup. You want to run QUICKDRAW 1 and 2, fast mags, and optics. Stock is nice if you want to put stock on there in place of, I would probably say, the fast mags. Stock is very beneficial, but this is the one that worked best for me. I try not to get spoiled with the stock because not all the rifles have it. Another fun and very viable setup, surprisingly viable, is Laser Sight 2. The Laser Sight 2 HIPFIRE strat is way stronger than most people give it credit for. Moving along, we talked about multiplayer a long time today. Let's talk about Blackout. In my opinion, the Maddox is also excellent for Blackout, and it's the weapon that I recommend players use the most. I've been playing a lot of Blackout. I play way more Blackout than regular multiplayer, and I'm trying to be very mindful of which weapons are good and bad. I like all of the automatic 5.56 weapons. The ICR, the Maddox, and the VAPR are all excellent weapons for Blackout that outperform most of the others. Among those three, it's hard to pick a best, but the Maddox might well be the best. It's not as clearly the best as it is in multiplayer, because in Blackout, the Maddox lacks the range damage of the other rifles. The long-range performance, the long-range damage per hit is nothing really special on the Maddox, especially when you're often dealing with armor and damage reductions. However, it allows you much better close quarters combat fighting. Getting a close quarters combat kill is the difference between continuing the match or going back to the lobby in Blackout, so having a weapon that can do it all like the Maddox is very nice, and you can kind of counter SMGs, though SMGs are kind of bad in Blackout anyway. And surprisingly, the recoil is better than expected with a 4x optic. A lot of the weapons that kick a whole lot, I avoid long-range zoom sights and just use red dots or elos or something. However, the times that I have used the Maddox with a 4x or a 2x or even a 3x, it's been very workable. The huge magazine is a big benefit too. Blackout is very much so a game mode of putting lead downstream, a lot of shots to kill, so having a 40-round magazine base or 60 with extended mags is super valuable. It also allows you to carry a little bit more ammo because you have a little bit in your mag, and you can just do suppressing fire almost like a light machine gun. It's super, super nice. The only real struggle with the Maddox is that ICR users can outgun you at long range. At long range, they will have less recoil than you will, and they will be dealing more damage than you will, so you'll lose to ICR users. But in medium and close range, you're going to beat them. So I think between these two, it's a little bit of a toss-up, which one you want to be using. And personally, God, I love all of these guns, but I'm going to go by usage stats. I think I've used the Maddox more than anything else. The Maddox is my most used Blackout weapon, so I guess even in my subconscious opinion, it must be a very good one. Guys, that is all for this very long episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.